Hey everybody, this is week 3, and this week we're talking about state courts. State courts handle law that deals with issues that the state legislature has passed on, laws that have been codified in the individual states. In California, each of the 58 counties has a superior court, and the superior court handles everything from arraignment through sentencing in any different and most applied law. Now, that wasn't so prior to 1998. Prior to 1998, California had courts, a municipal court and a superior court in each county. So let's take Orange County as a for instance. There were 5 municipal court buildings, one in Fullerton, one in Newport Beach, one in South County, and one in West Court, and I'm gonna mess myself up. I'll think of the 5th one here in a second. And then there was Central Court in Santa Ana. And Santa Ana also had a municipal court housed within the Superior Court building. 1998, voters passed Prop 220. In Proposition 220, local courts were allowed to merge or unify with the Superior Court if all of the judges in the municipal court agreed. So let's think about this for a minute. You're a judge in the municipal court. You're a muni court judge. But you have a chance to be titled a superior court judge, even if your duties stay the same. How do you think most municipal court judges would feel? And you're right, each of the 58 counties ratified unification, and now in California there are the 58 superior courts. Now, the counties maintain their buildings. You can still go to Newport Beach on Jamboree Road and find Harbor Court, although it does do some felony trials, or does felony trials, in addition to arraignments. The municipal court handled all the arraignments, and at least for my mind, it was easy to grasp that concept, that there was municipal court for arraignment, and then the case would end up at Superior Court, and you would go through the process at Superior Court. And they also handled, I've misspoken, they've also handled the preliminary hearing. So you have a felony case, arrested a guy for burglary, he goes to muni court for the arraignment, and then you get subpoenaed for any 1538.5 motions, which are motions to suppress. And then once those are settled, then you would go to the preliminary hearing in the municipal court, and then the case would transfer to Superior Court. So it was easy to get your mind around. Now, getting your mind around it's a little bit more difficult. A person gets arrested, they go to Superior Court, they are arraigned for an arraignment judge, a judge that is assigned to that part of the calendar, and then any motions, cases assigned out to another judge for motions to suppress or other motions, pretrial motions, and then you go to the preliminary hearing. The preliminary hearing is handled at that point by a Superior Court judge, and then it may very well get transferred to another judge for trial, or it does get transferred to another judge for trial, and goes from there. So that's the one thing to think about this week. And municipal courts were considered courts of limited jurisdiction. They handled the arraignments, preliminary hearings, they handled misdemeanor cases, misdemeanor trials, traffic trials, and they're pretty busy because DUIs are an issue in any county, and so are drunken public, and those kind of cases. The next set of courts. Now, with the municipal court being one, there's also other smaller courts, justice of the peace courts, justice of the peace courts, and those courts are they handle specific things and low level misdemeanors, things of that nature. The problem is that the supervision over those courts is pretty lax and it doesn't get the supervision that it needs to maintain high levels of quality and integrity. I had I knew a guy. I know a guy. I knew a guy who worked as a police officer in California, and he ended up getting fired. He moved to Texas, and he met some people and had a really vivacious personality, which is part of the reason he got fired. But he had a very vivacious personality and was able to convince the local voters to hire him or to elect him as Justice of the Peace. And he served as Justice of the Peace for many years. He eventually, as a sidelight, you may remember the TV show Dallas. And what they do is they'll set up scenes and they'll have stand-ins for the scenes that are the approximate size of the actor. Well, he was Larry Hagman's stand-in for the Dallas TV show for another period of time. I don't know what he's up to today, but pretty interesting landing on your feet. So from that you have the major trial courts, which is Superior Court. Superior Court will handle the felonies, and that's where you generally see Superior Court. Although now Superior Court judges are assigned to handle DUI trials and all kinds of all kinds of cases. The next issue are the problem-solving courts. They can be felony courts, domestic violence. Generally, you see them in misdemeanor drug cases or low-grade felony drug cases that are non-transportation or sales-related, possession cases, which is kind of a misrepresentation, I guess, is that there's the thought that the prisons are filled with people who only have a little bit of methamphetamine or cocaine in their possession. And the truth of the matter is that isn't the case, especially on the federal side. They may have pled down to that lower level crime, but they were probably arrested and prosecuted for possession for sales or some other major felony crime in the drug world. So those also involve, say, domestic violence, drugs, mental health. There's a veterans court. Veterans have a tendency to get themselves into some trouble, especially combat vets. And they're in high stress, absolutely horrible environment. They come back to the United States, and many of them separate out of the military, get discharged, and now they have no adrenaline anymore. A personal approach was with my dad. My dad was a fighter pilot in World War II, and after the war in 1945, he was discharged, or not discharged, but he separated. He was an officer, separated from the Navy, and he and a bunch of his friends to get adrenaline went out and bought a car from a dealership and did a bunch of work on it to make it fast, and was the precursor of NASCAR. And it was about adrenaline. So vets may go out and get in all kinds of trouble. Alcohol is very prevalent. Fights are very prevalent. Domestic violence can be prevalent, and especially when you add in people that suffer from post-traumatic stress, and that adds a greater dimension to their criminality. Finally, the concept of local control. So why have all these small courts? We kind of explored it in the dual court system, but one of the reasons is that localities don't want to give up their control of the court system. We'll see that when you take policing. You'll see that when we talk about SWAT. Why have a SWAT team? Why should a small agency, maybe 50 people, have a SWAT team? The idea is local control. Now, the downside to local control is that it's easier for corruption to seep in. Easier for corruption to seep in. And if you don't have solid supervision within the court system, you can see where people are treated, prosecuted in a different way, maybe given different kind of plea bargains, or maybe just ridiculously corrupt things like losing evidence, people who are in power not being prosecuted. You can see a lot of those kind of things when it comes to that corruption. So that's pretty much what we have about state courts, trying to keep these things short. Hopefully I have succeeded in that. And this week you have a paper, APA format, face page, in-text citations, and a reference page. Purdue University Online Writing Lab is a place to go for help on that. And also, do not use a textbook as a reference. It's so funny because it's in the syllabus, it's in the prompt, and I still find a lot of people that do that. So that's one thing that can be costly points-wise. Okay, with that all being said, you'll have a Dropbox for your draft. I'll give you some pointers on the draft. It's also going to be graded, and then you can go back, rewrite it, and hopefully get a better score. So with that said, we will see you guys. Oh, I know what I want to say also is with the if you're wondering what the prompt is, what do I write on? Well, go to the written assignment Dropbox, hit that, and you'll see what the prompt is for the week. Okay, you should be set.